Supposedly. Welcome to Remembering Your Oneness with Zane Daniel and Monica Kupiec, where we know everything, and so do you. I swear I was pushing the button.
I was
It didn't
looking
seem...
at
Go
I
ahead.
was looking at the video and I was like, "Oh wow, my porch was so like clear and clean."
Oh, right. Now it's a
'Cause
disaster.
well, it's a disaster because I'm doing an art show on Saturday, so it's like I have like a lot of things just on there. But I'm like, because I've been like wanting to clear my deck out for a long time to do another yoga video, and I
Oh, yeah.
haven't done that just because it's like my painting space.
Right, right.
So I was like admiring the cleanliness.
of the past.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm finally in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan on a private lake where my parents own a cabin, and
Mhm.
and I've been trying to get here for a while. It's been months. It's been 2 years since I've been here. 2 years since I've seen them. So it's really nice to be back. They put a lot of effort into getting internet here so that I could come and actually stay because, I'm always on the internet, right? Like I've
Mhm.
always got consultations or sessions or all the different things that I'm doing. So it's pretty cool how much effort they put in to make sure that there was internet because I am really
Wow.
truly in the middle of nowhere. The closest town is 20 minutes away and it's crappy, and then the closest real town is 45 minutes away. There's it's a private lake, so there's only a couple of cabins. Like I was telling you, there's only a couple of cabins actually on this lake, and the homeowners own all the land around the lake, so nobody else can build there. So
Mhm.
there's probably a total of like 6 people here at all on this. The lake's like a mile long, so like there is nothing going on. Super peaceful, super relaxing. It's yeah, and you said that you could tell that I seem more relaxed.
Yeah, your presence is just like, whew. Definitely, he had some good sleep in the past couple of days or something.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah,
I
that's
want
like
to...
one of the things I can always pick up on people is like if they're like tired or not tired or like
Yeah,
how relaxed they feel, and it's just like, oh, I wonder what's been going on with you.
right. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Hey, that might be one of your spiritual gifts. Oh, look
Oh.
at me and the transitions. Yeah, so that's gonna be our topic today, spiritual gifts, which is really cool. And I want to let everybody know who's watching. Please say hello and tell us where you're from and tell us anything about yourself. Tell us about your spiritual gifts. What have you discovered so far? What do you know? And sometimes, we don't know that they're gifts. We think that everybody's got it. Like that's one of
Mhm.
the things I run into sometimes is someone says, yeah, well, I dream the future all the time, like everybody does, like no, that's special to you. But you don't know it. You think that you're normal. You think that you're just like everybody else, and so you don't
Mhm.
realize that you have premonitions of the future, or you can feel the emotions of others as an empath, or whatever. So understanding what is unique to you is one of the first steps to discovering what your gifts are, and if they've already started to manifest themselves, because for many of us they came up when we were children and we
Mhm.
we didn't understand, and we told people about it and they said, oh, that's fun make believe, you're very creative and that's very clever, ha ha ha. And then it's never taken seriously, so you as a child probably don't take it seriously, and then bye bye, nothing.
Yeah.
So hello, Nate from Burlington, Vermont.
Aloha. Yeah, I honestly think spiritual gifts are almost like they're just within you and you don't realize that they are special, or
Yeah.
at least for me, I've never really thought of them as special. It's just like it's just who I am and how I go about my day, because without using those tools or without using my intuition, I'm not too sure how balanced I would be throughout my day, or how if I never experienced, developing my intuition or listening to that voice within me, I'm sure my life would be so, so much different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and and mine came later, so I didn't know that I had anything when I was a kid, and I'm sure that I did, but even now looking back, it's really hard for me to think of, did I really have anything? I mean,
Mm.
I don't recall. However, I did have the kind of the ability to know what people were thinking. And I always thought that it was because I was reading their facial expressions and I was reading their body language and all of that. But it could be that my gifts, my supernatural gifts, kind of extended into that area, so that I
Mm.
could get a really strong sense of where people were at, because I could easily just say, "Oh, you're upset," and they're like, "What? How did you know that?" Or
Yeah.
whatever. So that's another one of those things where I was raised in that with that scientific background, and so I always tried to figure out how it worked from a science perspective, like using the rules of the three-dimensional reality rather than rules of you know uh, astral awareness.
Hmm. So what you're saying, or what do you mean by astral?
I just made that term up, right? So
Oh.
I was trying to think of some way to describe the difference between understanding things through context clues, like physical context clues, versus understand feeling people's energy, or whatever, whatever terminology you want to use. So I made a, what was it? I already forgot. Astral what? Astral perception? No.
No, I think you said astral sighting or something like that. I have
Yeah,
no idea.
I already forget. I made it
Yeah.
up and it's gone. But
It, like,
the
threw me off. I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
yeah. I love to make up my own terms. But anyway, it is, there's a huge difference between, again, the physical context clues versus just knowing stuff.
Mhm.
And that's one of the most common spiritual gifts, I would say, is just knowing stuff. You just know, like, you see someone, you go, oh, that person just went through something really bad, or knowing that everything's going to work out, or knowing that, oh,
Mhm.
I know that I'm going to end up getting that job, or I just know, you just know stuff. And so, and then you go, well, that was weird, like, I don't know why I knew that, maybe I
Mhm.
just had confidence. Like, you pass it off, you don't think of it as astral whatever. uh
Well,
you think of it.
Pearl, not to cut you off, Pearl Swirl said it's astral awareness, you said.
Oh, astral awareness, right? Okay, thank you, Pearl. Yeah, astral awareness, right? So it is being aware of, that's why I said awareness, it's being aware of somebody else's energy,
Mhm.
so that's, so being able to just know things, like, did you have that throughout your life? I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I did, but mine, I think my motivator was I always felt something was missing within me when I was little. Like, I would be really happy, like, on my birthday or after shopping with my mom, and after, like, almost all of those instances, there would be, like, a little emptiness inside me, and I would grow very curious. This was, like, maybe when I was, like, in my teens, like, 12, 13, like, 9 or 10. I would get it very early on that there was something more to than just, like, getting gifts or doing these celebrations just for yourself. I didn't quite, like, dive into it then, but when I was 14 and started going to a holistic practitioner that was doing energy healing on me, it all sort of, like, started to make sense of, like, I am greater than this physical body or this physical being, and that's when I started to fill in those, like, missing sensations with, like, my own self-love or diving into a good, like, philosophical book and feeling more fulfilled reading that versus, like, buying myself, stuff. And
Right.
then when I moved to Hawaii, then it's like then I filled myself more with nature, and then nature was filling me up with that, like, if I would feel like a missing sensation from either being stressed from work or from a guy, I would always turn to nature and feel more alive, I guess you could call it that.
Mm-hmm.
But I always had this, like, inner sense that there was something more to what I was supposed to be when I was little.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So, but you have this history of kind of like knowing you were going to end up in Hawaii, didn't you? Didn't you have like this
Yeah, when I moved
pre
to or when I
premonition?
came Well, when I came here in 8th grade, I just knew that I would move here, and I think my
Mhm.
mom said when I told, like, the tour guide that I'm gonna live here, and after that, I, like, changed my whole room to, like, a huge wave canvas, and, like, I just
Right,
kept envisioning myself riding that wave or just
right.
being there. But I remember also when I was in 5th grade, or no, not 5th grade, like 5 years old or something, I was swimming in Lake Michigan, and there was this section where it's like shallow, and then it gets a little bit deeper, and then it gets, like, shallow again, and me and my brother swam out to, like, the second shallow part, and we were just, like, sitting there, and I wanted to go back, but he wanted to stay, so when I was returning back, I wasn't a strong swimmer then, so I remember just, like, doggy paddling and, like, I remember, like, struggling a little bit, but I kept hearing a voice, "Just keep swimming, just keep going, like, you got this." So I just kept listening. I was like, "Okay, I guess I got this." Like, my inner voice is, like, talking to me, and I
Right.
remember these, like, men, they were, like, playing football, and they like, in the water, and they were like, "Oh, do you need some help?" Because they probably saw that I was struggling, this, like, 5-year-old girl or whatever age I was when I was little.
Yeah.
I was like, "No, I got this." Just, like, kept going, kept going. But when I reached, like, the sand or reached, like, the shoreline, I felt so exhilarated, and I was like, "Wow, like, I did that, and, like, I can," like, I felt super, like, empowered. And then I remember my mom always taught us to, like, look for our umbrella on the beach because I was like, I think I drifted a
Oh,
little bit, and so I
yeah.
was like, "Okay, let me look for this umbrella," and then, like, I, found where we were, and I just felt so happy. And I
Yeah.
think, like, from then, like, I just started, like, really, like, truly, like, kind of, like, I guess, like, talking to myself more in a way, or just
Mhm.
figuring out, like, why did I hear that? And then, like, years on, like, I figured that that was, my higher self and my true self just guiding me,
Yeah.
to just keep swimming and just keep going.
Yeah. So that's almost like, yeah, that's almost like receiving information about what to do, like guidance,
Mhm.
and there's a knowing involved in that too, for sure. So I want to ask, say hello to Kirath from South Africa. Hello, Kirath. I would love it if you guys told us about what is it that you know that it hasn't happened yet, even like project, like that this is all going to work out. You know that you're going to end up in, Colorado or Hawaii or wherever. You know that. So, like, I remember when I was younger, now that I'm thinking about this and we're talking about it, I remember there was, at least when I was young, they used to do this. They don't do it anymore because of littering things. But
Mhm.
you would get hot air balloons, and you would put your address, your name and your address on the hot air balloon, and then you would let it go. Bye bye. And then and it would say something like, if you find this, please send a letter to this address. So I'm
Mhm.
in first grade, and I let my balloon go, and I just went. I know someone's going to get it, and I know they're going to respond to me. And it wasn't
Mhm.
just like, kid going, I know, I'm sure. No, it was deep. It was like, I just know. There's
Mhm.
no question. And sure enough, I definitely got that letter back. So
Mhm.
there, that's just a small example of that knowing, but it can be so much bigger than that. Like, and this is something that I talk to my students about in the negative entity experiences. Do you know you're eventually going to get through this? Do you
Mhm.
know for sure that you will not have entity issues anymore? And they almost always say yes, because there is that deep knowing. There is that knowing that their suffering is not going to last for the rest of their lives. They know that it will improve. And we use that a lot as a um, I want to use a cool word like touchstone. We use that as a touchstone
Mhm.
to throughout the whole thing. Like, if they ever have doubts, go, okay, remember, you're going to make it through this. And when you know that, you don't have to worry so much. You don't have to work so hard. You just know it's eventually going to happen, and you can actually relax. So that
Mhm.
knowing is a fantastic spiritual gift, and one to develop, and one to trust, and one to practice knowing, you know like, okay, know try to know different things, right? Like, what shouldn't that work? I mean, wouldn't you imagine, Monica, that you could just go, okay, I know who's going to win the next election. I know, and just see
Mhm.
where, if you go into it going, I absolutely know this is true, blah, and see what comes out of your mouth.
Mhm.
That's what, the our tagline is, where we know everything and so do you.
Mhm.
You do. You know everything.
Yeah. It's like the concept of really like surrendering from doubt, because I think once you bring doubt in, then that knowing is it gets distorted, or
Yeah.
is like eliminated, or like, it might change the frequency of what it is that you're wanting, or even like the concept of manifestation. Like once you start bringing doubt in, or that like like low self-esteem, or low self-worth about what it is that you want, it's going to shift, or it's going to change, or it's going to get harder to attain it. But once you stay in that frequency of knowing, or that frequency of love, of like, this is truly what I like, I guess you can say, need, or what's in my highest good to do, then I feel like it's that path is a little bit easier, a little bit more clear to receive it. Because like, what, in 8th grade, I was like in that concept of knowing I'm going to get to Hawaii, but it took me until my 3rd year of college to actually get to Hawaii, because the doors finally opened up for that to happen.
Right.
And, it's not like I was going to move, the next summer of like, in high school, still in like packing my bags and moving to Hawaii. Like
Right.
that would have not worked out as easily as going to college and, getting a job and like figuring it out from there. So it's
Yeah.
like, these knowings can take a while, but if you never lose hope in it, like, it's not gonna
Right.
it's not gonna not happen. So I
Yeah.
had so many people tell me like, "Oh, you're gonna move to Hawaii." Like, they thought of it was a joke, or they thought it was just like an undesirable dream that I just had within me. And then when I finally did do it, like, people kept on asking me like, "How did you do this? Like, you talked about it for so long, and you actually did it, and you followed through." And I think that's more like moving than the actual knowing too, because I did something and it inspired someone else to do it, or it helped them realize that they can also achieve
Yeah.
a dream, or a part of them that they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I knew that I was going to get the van and get all that worked out. I had a
Mhm.
complicated situation. I was trying to sell my house, and I, was trying to make sure I had the money to buy the van outright, and all these different things, and the timing and everything was a very, very tumultuous and challenging experience. But throughout the whole thing, I just knew that it was all going to happen, and I knew it
Mhm.
was going to work out perfectly, and of course, then it did. So
Mhm.
let's see. Let's see what Keyreth has to say here. In the current pandemic, we're faced with restrictions that change on a month-to-month basis. Yeah, and especially from South Africa, I'm sure. I have the inner feeling that there's arms holding me up. That then I will rise stronger. So I'm wondering if he's saying. Hmm. So could you
That
clarify this, Keyreth,
that will
to,
rise
to,
there.
to, to make sure we understand? Their arms holding you up, like up in a good way, or holding you back, maybe you mean, and instead of rising stronger, or as a result of that, you're going to rise stronger. I'm curious to know what you meant.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a
But
good
so,
question.
okay, so what's one, while we wait for that, what's one of your other gifts, Monica? Let's go that way. Let's go that
Let's
route.
go. Let's go that route. Well, I think one of my biggest spiritual gifts is like not necessarily seeing energy, but feeling it. I think I once mentioned it when I go grocery shopping. I can like see like the energy of the food. That's like usually most healing for me, and
Yeah, yeah, I
or like
remember that. Yeah.
and then I usually get that too when I drive, like, I'll, like, feel it out of, like, which way I wanna go, because like, sometimes there's in Hawaii, there's multiple ways for you to go, to the certain destination, and sometimes I just feel it out, and usually when I go through that feeling, there's usually, like, like a bird that passes my window, or, like, a beautiful tree that I see, or something very uplifting.
Mhm.
So I think that's one of my, like, it is one of my spiritual gifts.
Yeah.
But that gift helps me paint too, because I then feel the energy of the paint for the person's energy portrait, or for even just my own, like, little dabbles that I do. I can feel and see a glow from a paint, and then on the canvas I can see where it wants to go. So I'm still trying to like figure that out, in the sense of not necessarily why I have it, but, like, I'm sure there's still something more to it that's gonna lead to
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
right now, I kinda just know that I like feeling this trust in this flow that I'm seeing.
Okay, well now could you give people advice on how to see energy? I'm putting you on the spot. Like
Wow.
what's the way that you would, if
What's
you were
the what's
somebody
the
who's
what's the trick?
right, yeah, what is it? What's the trick? How do we see energy?
I I That's a great question. Honestly, it's just, like, surrendering really truly into the moment and just, like, feeling out the I don't know what you see. It's like, do you get a good vibe from it or not? And then actually truly going with that. So I think it's first like figuring out, does this feel good right now for me to go? And if you feel a little resistance, go the other way or
Sure.
actually failing at feeling. So you go the way that you thought you shouldn't go, and then you're going that bad way, and you actually become aware like, oh, okay, so this didn't make me feel good. So now let's try the other way. 'Cause that's a lot of what I did growing up. You know, I would see what would trigger me, and I would go through the trigger and realize that this wasn't what I wanted, or this didn't make me feel good. So it's a matter of, like, going back and forth to understanding what makes you feel good, because then what makes you feel good, you'll be able to kind of see and feel to go that route.
Hmm.
Especially with food, like, you might already know that, sometimes dairy products don't make you feel good, but if you're gonna keep eating those products, you're never really gonna learn to step away from it to experience something else. So it's the same thing with, being in a relationship or meeting people. If this person doesn't make you feel good, you might not understand that there is something more out there or someone else out there to help elevate you in a way. So it's a matter of, like, playing with, like, the frequency of your own energy, like, seeing what lowers your energy and then figuring out what raises your energy. And then once you keep raising that energy, you'll be able to then, like, pinpoint of, like, "Okay, I understand and I know that I feel good here, so let me go here and then see what happens." And
Yeah.
then you can also backtrack it to, like, "I understand and I know I don't feel good here, or I feel get anxiety going to this event or going to see these people, but I'm still gonna go to kinda, like, cope with it to see what really deep down within me do I still need to heal or what do I need to face?" And then it's just, like, a matter of, figuring that out.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so I can see that, and I remember when I really first began my awakening, and I was working with someone who was kind of saying, like, before she made any big decision, she would check in and she would
Mhm.
just kind of close her eyes and she would go, okay, would it make sense for me to do this or would it make sense for me to do that? And then she would just somehow, and everybody's different as to how you receive this, but she would receive the information about which choice was the best one. In my case, I can do this now and I'll hear it as a voice,
Mhm.
or I can also do a muscle test or a pendulum or whatever if the voice is sounding biased. Because sometimes I have a bias, like I definitely think that it's this way, so I should probably do that.
Mhm.
And then I'm afraid that I might be closed to the other option. So I'll do some sort of outside of me approach, like a muscle test or a pendulum. But but even if you don't do those things and you just kind of receive the information, one of the things you said was you like to feel whether it feels positive or negative, or it resonates or it doesn't. Another way to do it is to ask a yes no question, and you might hear the word yes or no
Mhm.
as a response. So there's
Right.
plenty of ways to kind of check to decide what action to take, and and so it's interesting because you called that seeing energy. So now when I think of someone saying seeing energy, I think of you looking out and there's like waves of color or auras around people or objects
Mhm.
or things. Um, is that, do you not see that? I thought you did actually see that. And how do you see that is different than from asking or receiving
Mhm.
choices?
Well, I see a glow, and it's mainly like it's kind of just like a way, like an orb in a way, but not like actually seeing red or white or blue or green or something like that. Sometimes I might just see that when I do people's chakra colors, because then I understand that, these are the associated stuff. But it's more of like a inner glow, or there's like, it's like almost like it's all distorted around it in a way. It's not like vibrant or anything, but it's like a strong pull, and I can see and feel that.
Mm.
Because I mean, if I were blind, it's like you would maybe go more through the feeling of it than actually like visually seeing
Visuals.
like a visual color, because you can use
Right.
both, or at least I'm using both senses, the one internal and the one that's like external. But it's
Right.
like I can look at something, or even when you feel someone's emotions, it's like you can, it's almost like you, if you feel someone's like has like worse energy, or they're feeling down or something, it's almost like you want to pull away from it, because you can like feel and see that, like that vibration. But then when you're like feeling comfortable around someone, and like you feel very loved, it's like it's almost like you're a magnet, you just want to be closer to it. But there's also like a different, like you see that person differently, or they look more attractive, or
Yeah.
they have this like specialness to them, versus
Yes.
someone that's like, maybe coping with something and they're dealing with something. You see them more like as a neutral person, and it's like, okay, well, how can I steer this conversation to help you get out of it, or to help you, understand yourself slightly more.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting because when you start to dive into what your spiritual gifts are, it gets very, very detailed and complicated, even. So, like, I want to kind of talk about the 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 main one that everybody talks about, which is the empath, right? So you started to kind of touch into that, so that's why I want to expand from there. So, if you go, some people are very much afraid to go to public places because they're afraid that because they get assaulted essentially by all the different emotions that all the different people are experiencing, and
Mm-hmm.
so it makes it so that they feel all those emotions, or then they get all kinds of strange symptoms like headaches, or feeling sick, or any number of things. So and one of my favorite kind of guidances for that is to go, well, wait a minute. First of all, why, if you are here to do amazing things, and we all are, we're here to fulfill something great. If you're here to do amazing things, why would you choose to have the spiritual gift that you felt other people's emotions so much that it would make you sick? Like, why would you choose to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's probably so that you go, you take one of two choices, and hopefully it's the one, not the other one. The other one is so that you run and hide and never show your face ever again. That's the worst possible choice that you can make when you have that sort of empath experience.
Mm-hmm.
The one that's most likely, I feel like, that we get when we feel that way is, this is an opportunity to use another spiritual gift to solve the problem. And not only do you solve the problem for yourself, but you're solving the problem for all the people that are afflicted with the negative emotional experience. So
Mm-hmm.
I say it like this: like, go into those spaces now as a sorcerer, or as a sorceress, and move the energy around, and see if you can start to make changes to the environment to actually help other people, even people you don't even know. Or you can lighten the atmosphere, the experience. Like, if you're in a busy place and it feels heavy and oppressive, remove it. Use your own spiritual gifts to manipulate energy and make things different and better. And then that, now you're actually probably stepping into one of your life missions or purposes or goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a lot of not a lot, but I've had some spiritual, like my Reiki friends that do Reiki on me. Like they'll say like sometimes all it takes is just your presence and people will feel it. And you know, you just being you, or you just being very aligned with yourself, it's almost like you're helping people just because you walked into that room, and they'll start to feel better, they'll start to feel more grounded. So it's not even like, to if you feel like, I mean, I get it too, like I feel anxious when I have to go to a grocery store because there's just so many people, there's just so much energy. But it's like, I learned to ground we're talking about grounding again, but I learned to essentially ground myself to like actually ask like why do I feel so rushed or why do I feel this like anxiety just to, get all these chores done. And I know when COVID first happened and like, it's like nobody wanted to be in those places and it's like I always just felt so rushed just to get through everything just so I could get out of the store. And then I realized that this is so stupid. Like why should I be rushing just because I have a mask on and that, we really shouldn't be around, all of these people. But it's like there's this inner rush that you're creating this anxiety and then your organs are going to like shut down or they're going to feel bad and then you're just like creating all this like built up energy that creates like sores in your body. And it's like if you just give yourself that self-awareness of like, okay, I have to get this and this done, let me just walk consciously, let me feel out the energy of all of the products here, maybe there's something else that I need to bring or something else that maybe I forgot. And once you go in through everything consciously or through another event consciously, you might meet another conscious person or you might meet someone that's going to give you this new self awareness in you. And that's always what I get from when I go to like group events. Like, there's always someone that I meet. I always kind of just set the intention of like, okay, I'm going to go to this. Let me meet who I need to meet. Let me have the conversation that I need to have, or let me have the experience that I need to do in order to feel better. And
Right.
if the experience is to feel tired and drained, maybe that's just what I needed. Maybe my body just needed to feel a little bit more tired. So that way, the next time I go to an event, I can monitor like, why did I actually get tired? Was I because saying something that it wasn't authentic with me? Or was I around people that were inauthentic with themselves and I was just feeling their energy and that was coming into me? So it's like, okay, maybe I need to like absorb myself more with love or like raise my own vibration before I actually step into these events. But if I'm
Right.
going to step in already knowing that I'm going to feel terrible, you've already manifested that. You've
Yep.
already told yourself you're going to feel shitty. But if you're
Right.
going to step in knowing that you're going to meet someone or that you're going to experience this whatever it is that you need to do, that's what you're going to get. And I remember when I used to go to the clubs, I would always say I'm going to meet a guy. I'm going to meet a guy that's going to like help me like figure out a self-awareness. And every time I would usually walk out with a guy or I would meet someone that like actually made me feel good. But that was my intention and that's what I wanted to do. And because I got so good of it, I kind of got sick of it. I was like, oh, this is kind of too easy. But it's like then I knew that I can set this intention to other aspects of my life and also receive that. Or like I learned that with sales, I would always set the intention, I want to make this many sales or I want to meet more spiritual people, and those people would actually come. And
Yep.
like it's kind of being like a sorcerer. I always had my managers ask me like, how do you do this, how do you get so many sales? I'm like, I just like attract it to me. And that like
Yeah.
I would teach her, like I gave one of my managers once Reiki in like her office. She was like, oh my god, this is so cool. And she would be like, can you Reiki all the desks so they can do better, or like the other
Oh,
offices? And
yeah.
it's like all you really need is just to be conscious in your activity, and you're really going to get what it is that you know that you can achieve.
Right. Absolutely. I want to say hello to Miriam. Let us know where you're at, Miriam. We'd love to find out. Tell us your location. And then Kirath, I really like this. He was resonating with the idea of going out and being a sorcerer, right? So if I go into public for an extended period of time, as soon as I get home, I need to take a power nap to recharge. Yeah, this happens all the time. And so I would bet, Kirath, that what you're doing is you're actually using your own energy when you could be using the energy resources of the universe. And so one of the
Mhm.
things that I often teach people to do is, especially before they go out and do something that would normally drain them, but you could do it as soon as you wake up in the morning, and you could do it every day until you stop needing to do it because it's automatic. But it's to simply make the intention, set the intention that today I am going to pull from the unlimited energy resources of the universe rather than my own reserves,
Yeah.
because you have that. So, and you're a healer, so you've experienced that. And so, if you've ever had somebody that you're healing, that you're working on, and you have multiple people in the day, and at the end of the day you feel drained, you really shouldn't, unless you've done a lot of physical work. If you've done just energy work, you should pretty much feel the same at the end of the day as you did at the beginning. if you're pulling from the unlimited energy resources of the universe. If, however, you're pulling from your own reserves and you're giving them your own energy, then you're going to really drain yourself, and you're not really going to maybe give them as pure of an energy healing as you would if you're pulling from the unlimited energy resources. So I can't stress it enough as part of your spiritual gift, as a tip, as a hack into your spiritual experience. That one does wonders, and I've told lots of people about it, and everybody who's done it explains or expresses incredible results from it, really.
It's almost like when you step into those places, you can just ask your higher self to come forward too, and that's already pulling, the energy from above or from other, or you can ask your guides to come through to help you. And that's one way to do it, because I think when we do energy healing, like, you start that initial prayer, and that's already activating that energy source or that channel to come through.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then, like, sometimes you just feel tired because, maybe you've done a lot of clearing just by stepping into that place. Like, I always think that, a lot of the places that we go to or have passed, we've actually walked that same path, and it's just like, your other parallel universes that are, kind of just, like, aligning, and you're just, like, releasing all of these different emotions, and you just feel tired. But I think consciousness and awareness is the main thing, because once you start losing yourself, you'll start actually, getting tired or getting, absorbing all of that other extra, like, energy that's around.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
I want to say hello to Mateha. I think I've said it right. She can correct me if I've said it wrong.
Matea. Um,
Mateha.
so what is your spiritual gift? Let's turn it around to you now.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Well, there's plenty, right? But I think the biggest one is, well, there's, yeah, I think the biggest one is like a category, and it is emotional and energetic healing. So helping
Mhm.
people with uh, problems like their overcoming their childhood traumas, overcoming their blockages, and kind of like reprogramming the subconscious mind. I was explaining it like this actually today to a client, that what we've got is if you go to traditional counseling, let's say, and you're working on a childhood trauma, that counseling session, the 1 hour counseling session, is going to help maybe a little bit with that. But it's generally, and if you really wanted to completely help, it could take 6 months to a year of just kind of working around and talking about that one childhood trauma before you get over it or
Mhm.
clear it or whatever the terminology you want to use. But when you start to introduce the energy healing aspect to it, then it goes so much faster. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm essentially combining the conversation to get it out and to help people practice get what they need to do to get rid of it. But I'm also backing it with the energy healing to, like, remove the again, that right brain left brain problem. So the left brain says, oh yeah, I love myself unconditionally, I'm sure I do, but the right brain goes, nah, because of whatever that happened. So one of
Mhm.
the energy healing things in that category I do helps reprogram the subconscious mind or the right brain to believe the statement, I love myself unconditionally, for example. And now you go forward throughout your life believing that, and then you take action as a result of it. And
Mhm.
that can be used for absolutely anything. So the majority of my spiritual gifts are all around helping people with that sort of thing. So then
Yeah.
I would think you're going to ask me, how do you help people do that, right? And for me, it is, for me, I'm working with an extra dimensional collective called the Hathors, but you
Mhm.
could be working with your guides, your higher self, your intuition, whatever, it doesn't matter. And so you really can just ask for help. You can say, okay, what is something that I don't know about this person, or that I could, a method that I could use to help this particular person, and see how you're guided. And
Mhm.
that guidance comes very similar to what you experienced when you were talking about whether you should, do buy this food or that food, or go this route or go the other route. And so you're just open to it, and it's a little bit easier when you're working with someone else rather than working with yourself. It's
Mhm.
it because now you are in caring mode, you are in outreach mode, you are in I I I am not wrapped up in the problem. I'm able to observe the problem from
Yeah.
a distance. And when you're able to do that, then the information comes through without bias. Because when
Mhm.
you're all wrapped up in the problem, then your filter, your brain, is kind of in the way of receiving the correct information. That doesn't mean you can't heal yourself, but it's just maybe for many, it's a little bit easier to work on someone else.
Yeah. What I like though when, when we work on someone else, it's like sometimes the things that, I say are actually relevant to me. Like I'll like literally have
Yeah,
moments of like, oh my God, I should be taking this advice. Like it's like humorous almost. It's like, this person is literally you in another form and you're just saying those words out loud when I do the because I got my training with like yoga nidra, and one of the things is there's like a one-on-one session where you repeat exactly what that person says. And through someone else listening to what they're saying, it actually helps them remove that block or remove that like unconscious pattern because you hear it and you realize it's not that big of a deal. And it's like the same thing when we do these energy clearings on people. Like sometimes things will come up and be like, oh, like I'll like return that back to me and see if I need to work on that too. Because there usually is like, like a mirror effect of who comes to you for healing. There's always a way for you to grow from that experience.
yeah, absolutely, for sure. Let's see. I want to say to Keyrath, that's awesome. Glad that this is helpful for you. He's talking about asking for the unlimited energy resources of the universe. And then, hello, Laura from Northern California. Thanks for joining us.
Hello,
So
hello.
yeah, so what we're talking about, everybody who is just joining us, or even who's been all along, we're talking about spiritual gifts. So tell us in the comments, what are your spiritual gifts? What experiences have you had? There's so many. Like, I think it would be really fun, and maybe we should do. Remember when we did that brainstorm version of the podcast?
5D
Where,
world. Hmm.
yeah, we should do a brainstorm of all the possible spiritual gifts and just write out as many as we can possibly think of that we've heard of, that or that maybe even we'll make some up, and that but that they'll be legitimate. Because I mean,
Hmm.
you can even talk about light language, or you can talk about channeling, or just it really just goes on and on. By location, like can you
Hmm.
astral project. I mean, there's just so many out there that are so cool, and many of them I haven't experienced yet. Notice that I say yet, very important, because I'm not closing myself up. I'm not saying I can't do that. I'm saying I just haven't done it yet. I look forward
Hmm.
to astral projecting, bilocating, and um, I don't know what's another crazy one. Oh, levitating. I look forward to levitating up off the ground.
I don't think I'm ready for that one.
Oh, see, you've already got a blockage on it. That's too bad. It's going to take you a lot longer. For me, I've decided how to do it. Like I know
Yeah.
how to levitate. Yeah, I'm going to reduce my weight
Oh.
until I am weightless. So I'm going to, continue to lower my mass. And so that's going to be my intention. My intention isn't to lift up off the ground. My intention is to lower my mass so that I come floating up off the ground.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
I like
during this lifetime, I'll be floating.
it. That's good. Well,
I
when I think
know, I know that I will be floating off the ground during this lifetime.
Well, when I think of spiritual gifts for you, I always think that, your whole negative entity journey is really cool of helping people to go through that. I always like hearing your stories of who you've helped and how it's been helping others in your group.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, we always have, we have a lot of people that go through the program, and we always have interesting stories. As you know, I'm working on a documentary about schizophrenia and negative entities, and we
Mm.
have another schizophrenic diagnosed patient who's in the program right now, and she's really doing great. She had some great releases over this last one, and and she's dealing with the stigma of having that diagnosis, or the decision that there's something wrong with you. Oh, okay, you are sick, you have schizophrenia. Now that is an obstacle in itself. That means that you are lesser. That means that maybe you don't love yourself unconditionally. That means that you need to be cared for or helped, rather than stepping into your power. So just things like that can offer really difficult and challenging parts to what you're dealing with. And it's not even what you're dealing with. It's the
Mhm.
fact that you were diagnosed. So yeah, there's all kinds of interesting things that goes on there. And but it always comes back to loving yourself unconditionally, overcoming those childhood traumas, getting rid of those blockages, because those things are, and raising your frequency, those things make it so that you can't have negative entities anymore. It just isn't going to happen. So the program is all set up to help people by removing the entities, which is another one of my spiritual gifts. I can remove them. Um, but they'll just come back. So we are teaching you how to make it so that they don't ever come back, or if they do, you know how to get rid of them immediately. All right,
Mhm.
we're getting some good ones here coming through. So I love Kiratz's first sentence here. I get images flowing through my hands. Like, I want to know what that feels like or looks like. Oh, I see. So he's drawing. So it's like you, kind of, right? Like, so you're painting and you're feeling that same thing when in deep meditation. Currently getting used to talking with candle flame. Talking with candle flame. I'd love to know more about that. I wonder what that, describe that a little bit for us, Kirath. I'm curious. And then Laura's got a big one here. Clairaudient, clairempath, then clairvoyant. Can sense spirits or entities. Okay, very interesting. We should talk. Have seen shadow people. I heard my higher self outside of me or spirits. Yeah, okay. I started channeling recently. Congratulations. And a lot of synchronicities. Right. Well, we haven't even talked about synchronicities yet. That's one.
Mhm.
I kind of believe that synchronicities are actually just big labels to help you figure out what your spiritual gifts are. That's generally what happens when we follow our synchronicities. While I do a spiritual healing, I get intuitive questions from my hands. Ooh, I want to understand what that means. Your hands are asking you questions. That's the first thing that I thought of, but I'm sure it's not that. I'd really like to know, Laura, what that means.
Good to catch
Hi,
up as
Heidi. Good to
well.
catch you live too.
Yeah. I mean,
What
I
were you gonna?
know when I do a lot of energy healing, like I get a lot of stuff with my hands too. Like it's like heat, and like usually it's my hands that gravitate towards like different, you know, like different places. So it's like I'll feel the energy, and then maybe that's what they're talking about. It's like they'll get a lot through their hands, like the heat and the messages. Or at least like when I
Okay.
start to feel heat, that's when I know that, a channeling is about to happen, or like I need to give something to someone. Sometimes I'm with my friends and like my hands are just like, they want to give Reiki to you. So I'll like literally put my hands over them and like give them a message.
That's awesome.
So like maybe that's what she's talking about, but I don't know about question. So I guess question could be maybe she's helping other people or that people ask her questions and she gets it through that.
Oh, here's the answer.
Mm.
Her hands vibrate when I'm doing energy work, like activated, and then the intuition. Oh, I mean the intuitive questions come out.
Mm.
So you're okay. So it could be that the source of the intuitive questions are coming from your hands, or it could be that the hands vibrating is a signal to you
Signal.
that you've
Mhm.
got the intuitive question. Yeah, that's cool. I like it. Um, So, okay, so she says a lot of ringing in my ears and no medical explanation. I see, I see. So when
I
when
get
you're
ringing in my
doing,
ears too.
yeah, when you're doing that. Okay, so what when you experience that, Monica, um, what do you associate it with when you hear the ringing in your ears? Do you have an explanation?
Usually I just try to tune into what I was thinking and trying to see. I'll dictate if that was, a good message or if I was talking down on myself, and that's just bring that ringing is just bringing me to the present moment.
I see.
Because usually when I hear different sounds or birds come by, it's like they kind of just zap me into the present moment, or just to get me out of my head in a way. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes it could just be a sign that like, oh, like be cautious, or you just want to tune into what exactly you were doing in that moment. That's the only advice or logical thing that I've come up with.
yeah. Yeah, and that for some reason that just reminded me of a situation that I had. I was driving one time and I got distracted by the radio or my phone off of this, on the stand or something, and I was like, I probably looked at it for too long, and I think I started drifting into the next lane where there was another car,
Mm,
and I heard a voice that just said, "Look," and I just went, "Oh, all right, okay, sorry."
yeah.
So that can come in so many different and interesting ways,
Mhm.
um, that you just never know, and so that really made me feel protected and watched, like cared
Yeah.
for. It was
I get
really
that
cool
too when
experience.
driving. I think once I was, like, looking at my phone and then, like, literally was like, I think it said "look" or it said, like, "stop" or said something, and I, like, slammed my brake, or else I would've, like, literally, like, driven into someone.
Right.
So it's like your intuitive voice is a huge, I think, gift, but it's also something that can be, I think all of these can be developed, right? Spiritual gifts can be
Oh
developed.
yeah, they
But
yeah they
some
can.
it's like
Yes.
some you're just born with and you just have them from you're younger, but I feel like a lot you can still, like, learn and develop and, I guess, like, necessarily, like, perfect, but you can enhance them through practice.
Right, absolutely. So yeah, so Kireth explaining the candle. This is cool. And when you light a candle, if I start venting, like getting angry, the flame goes smaller, and when I start being positive, the flame grows bigger and brighter.
Hmm,
That's pretty cool. I'd like to play around with that. That's a really neat one. And now
that's
I have to go back up and see. Did he say that he's getting good at it? He's getting used to talking with candle flame. Okay, so
mhm.
you're in the early process of that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I've definitely done some meditations where I'm just, like, looking at the candle and just being, like, hypnotized by it, but I've never actually tried, talking with it or seeing
Mhm.
how it glows when I'm thinking of something or when it diminishes
Right.
or gets smaller.
Well, mediumship is another spiritual gift, and it's come through every once in a while for me. So I've worked with people who had someone die that they had not necessarily forgiven,
Mm,
or that they needed, clarity from. And I don't, I mean, I'm starting to sort of ask for it, but a lot of times it just comes through whether I want it to or not. And then all of a sudden I feel this crazy a wash of energy come over me, and I can just feel them there. And then I do my best to allow them to speak through me. Um,
mhm.
and sometimes I say some things that are very helpful, and sometimes I don't really get to the point where I'm allowing it as good as I could. So
Yeah.
I'm still kind of practicing that one, though I only practice it when the situation comes up. So I could probably practice it more and get and
Mhm.
and start to refine that one more.
I actually, yeah, I get that too, when I do Reiki on some people. Like, I'll actually get a lot of deceased people to come through to give them messages. Sometimes it's, like, their mom or their dad or, like, someone that they knew personally. Sometimes I resist it. I was like, "Oh, is it really, like, necessary?" Like, it's gonna bring up a lot of emotions, and usually
Right.
those people have cried when I tell them, like, "This is the message that you got from it." So then
Hmm.
I get, like, goosebumps all over me, and it's like, "Okay, this was right for me to say." Sometimes I'll wait a day. I think for a friend, I, like, waited a day, and then I told him, and then it was, like, better timing, so,
Ah,
but I've definitely not, like, explored it. I feel like I should because it's come through quite a bit when I do Reiki on people, but I think it's just like you, I just haven't really touched much on it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We just need to practice more. And that goes back to you. You can learn anything, really. I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
there's the ones that you came here to use, and those come very easily. They come very naturally. But then there's going to be ones that you can develop if you want to. I went to a Psych K, which is a type of reprogramming of the subconscious mind. I went to a workshop that was like a 3-day workshop. I had to fly to LA for, and so on. And I had to
Mhm.
spend, $1,000, $2,000, whatever it was. And, and the whole time I'm like learning this particular method. Right. And the whole time the Hathors are going, you can already do this. Like, you don't have to be here. You already know how to do this. Like, okay, thanks guys. I appreciate it. It was still
Mhm.
helpful. I still, added it to my arsenal because I was
Yeah.
there doing it, and they're saying you can already do it. Oh, well, why didn't you tell me that before I flew out here and spent thousands of dollars? But still, like, so it can be something that if you feel inspired or interested, then take
Mhm.
the program that teaches you how to reprogram the subconscious mind, or to channel, or to medium, or to be a psychic or whatever, because that probably means that you already kind of have that gift available to you, and you just need some sort of little opening, some sort of little trigger, some sort of moment to go, oh right, this is how I do this thing.
Yeah. So when you took that retreat and then, the Hathors told you that, oh, you already know how to do this, did that just help you become stronger with checking in with them before you do something, or that you invest more money into like another training per se? Did it make you more just self-aware? Or did you go to that retreat and you actually met someone that actually gave you a really good conversation that it's like, oh, this is why I came here?
No, I don't think any of those actually. I think, though, what I learned at the retreat was not the method, but more about how the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere and the
Mm,
subconscious and so forth works. So now when I do it my way, using my own modality rather than theirs, I know what
mhm,
I'm talking about. And so
mm.
now when I interact with people, they can ask questions and I know the answers, as opposed to, oh, I wouldn't have known them if I hadn't gone to that workshop.
Okay, so it did
So
help
there was
you.
a reason, right? Right, yeah.
Yeah,
I was joking when I said, "Why didn't you tell me before I did it?" Right, because
yeah.
that's funny. But the truth is, I'm really glad that I went. Absolutely, I got a lot out of it. So so Z Tracy Yang, she had a typo, but what she said was, "What can I do to develop my psychic abilities?" And that's kind of what we've been talking about this whole time. Z, it's wonderful. Thanks for joining us. Um, and and I would almost say, like, go back through and rewatch this, but also, first of all, the knowing thing is everything. Do you know that you have psychic abilities? Do you know it? Do you know that you have gifts? If you know that you have gifts, then that's the first step, because you can relax a little bit. You don't have to push so hard. You don't have to worry. You don't have to wonder. You just know. And so when you know, then you can actually fast forward to the end and you can say, wow, I got all my spiritual gifts. They're really amazing. And you can go, I wonder how I figured all these out.
Mhm,
And then you're backtracking the process. Oh, well, how do I know? I know that I have all this, and I know that I'm at some future point. What did I do to get here? Well, it probably was that I saw that one teacher that I've been thinking about for a long time. That probably means that I ended up seeing that teacher and they taught me some of this. Oh, and I probably practiced a lot. Let's see, what else
mhm,
did I do to get here? Oh, I probably meditated a lot and worked on my dreams, and then all of a sudden you'll piece together exactly what you need to do in order to get to that end point, because for everyone it's different. And so I don't want to give you a disservice, Z, and say, you know what, all you've got to do is this, or these 5 steps. Well, your 5 steps may be completely different. And that's kind of the beauty of everybody's journey. That's what makes watching things like this fun, because we're talking about those journeys and how we got there. And it's always going to be different than somebody else's. So that's the other thing I would recommend is embrace your particular journey and enjoy it, because you're going to have lots of stories to tell about your process. So like, for example, like when I was learning how to do the soul essence activation, I ended up working with somebody on the phone, and he it was a video chat actually on his phone, and he grabbed a crystal and he said, "Hey, this crystal wants you to activate it." And I went, "What?" I'd never activated a crystal before. So I said,
Mhm.
"Okay, cool. I'll activate your crystal." So I did whatever felt right. And all of a sudden, he was disconnected from me. We lost connection. So, and it took him like 2 or 3 minutes before he called me back and he said, "You're never going to believe this. When you activated the crystal, there was a little bolt of electricity that went from the crystal into my phone, and it shut my phone down. I had to
Mhm.
reboot my phone, which is why it took me 2 or 3 minutes to call you back." So,
Mhm.
that's a very unique little story that I got to have at during my discovery and during my journey of understanding what my gifts were. So, love all that, because that's going to be fun stuff. And now we're out of time, aren't we? Holy cow.
I
That
think
went
we're
really
gonna
fast.
answer. Well, we'll answer Heidi's question because she asked twice.
Okay.
Well,
Is your
the first
intuition
one, oh, there's
is
one right before it.
oh, there is? Not
Yeah.
oh, I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
So when your gut has a feeling something is off, then is that a warning when it comes out of nowhere? Do you understand what she means there?
And then go off the second one. Is your
Okay.
intuition based on that gut feeling you know something is off, but you can't quite wrap your finger
Put your
around
finger
it?
in the issue, on the issue. Okay. Does that you're a lot more in that gut feeling, intuition based thing. You'd probably
Yeah,
be able
I would say yeah, your intuition and your gut are pretty neck and neck. But you also just want to it's gonna be that knowing feeling again that we talked about because your gut is it's your body, so your body's already reacting before your mind is. And I always think you should listen to your body before you should listen to your thoughts. So if your gut is telling you like, "Oh, I don't feel comfortable here," you should take that as a sign. Or if you feel off, then, there is definitely you wanna then check in even further with your guides because that is definitely a sign and that it definitely is a signal or a tool for you to use. So maybe your intuition is maybe more within your body. So then maybe you should practice just more of listening to what your body is wanting. So instead of checking with a guide, you want to check in with your body. Hey body, do you feel good here? Or hey liver, is this going to suit you? Or hey kidneys, how do you feel right now? Or hey heart,
right.
like how can I check in more with my heart right now? So I always like to do that.
Yeah, that's good. I love it. All right. And we'll leave with Kirath's follow the inner voice and resonate with the synchronicity of being present with the gift you think you have. Beautiful. Beautifully said. Wow, really fast hour. Thanks, Monica. That was fun, and it was a topic because it was my meditation. My Monday meditation for this week was all about helping you discover your gifts. So you can go to my YouTube channel and check that out. And for Z and for anybody else who's really interested in knowing or in some energy healing work that will help you with discovering your or enhancing your spiritual gifts, you can watch that. And it's pretty cool because it's a whole bunch of activations inside the meditation. And I'm putting in my there I'm putting a link to my channel now, so if you guys don't know about my channel, then you can go there and do that.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Are you still doing your meditations, your live meditations? You back on track?
I am back on track. Yeah, I actually did one yesterday that was for your third chakra, which is all about your self-esteem and confidence. So that does will help activate knowing your gifts and like being confident in them. So that
Right.
was the one I did yesterday, but I go live every Monday and Wednesday. So twice a week I go live
And
for
how
just
can they find you?
it's a group called Island Awakening Ohana, or you can just go to my Facebook page, Island Awakening, and then that will work too. Or you'll see the
Island
link for
Awakening.
it.
Your Facebook group, Island Awakening. Yes.
Mhm.
So I'm going to do that, and you can tell me if I typed it right.
That is correct.
Yes. All right, good. So you can sign up to attend Monica's twice weekly live meditations.
And completely free.
And completely free. Yeah, so is my YouTube channel. Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to everybody, and so glad to have all of your fun interactions and learn more about you. So thank you.
Aloha,
And
everyone.
goodbye, Monica. I love you unconditionally and everyone else.